Hello everyone, welcome back to SwitchUp. We're going to have a look at a game called EvoMon, which really does remind me of a combination of Pokemon and Tamagotchi. And it's a sponsored episode, so we are able to give away a few copies of this one. All you have to do is leave your comments down below and let us know your favourite monster collecting game.
Yeah, for sure. This one actually sells for a very good price as well, so it'll be interesting to dive into it and see exactly what it's all about. So what exactly is EvoMon? Well, let's find out.
Alright, let's start off as we would in a review. Obviously this isn't, as it's sponsored, but we'll start with the story. Now, it's set within a world a long time ago that basically has a massive disaster, and then people begin to pray to their deity to fix the problem. It's a little bit unusual. He basically creates a lot of new life, but with that comes quite a bit of evil.
Yeah, okay.
And then he's outraged by that, and he seals the new life within eggs. So it seems a bit counterproductive.
I think he was having a bad day, let's be honest.
Exactly. And then the people of the world go out to collect these eggs and train up the monsters. Unusual. It does the job. It's just really there as a setup as to why you're doing what you're doing. Now it starts with you choosing one of 3 of the eggs. Obviously you don't know what's going to hatch out of it, but you're choosing it based on the colour. And I did go for the one that looked most like Tottenham, you'll be glad to know, Glen.
Oh, there we go, yeah. That's a good way of choosing. That's guaranteed success right there.
And it begins in a farm area that feels exactly like the Tamagotchi we just spoke about. You've got your monster in the middle, you've got statistics on the left, such as its health, the experience, which we'll go into in a little bit, and that's linked to its evolution, and obviously its hunger.
Yeah, you also have to clean up after it and do all the bits that you used to do on your Tamagotchi whilst you should have been listening to your science teacher or whatever it was back in the day.
Now there are 3 different stages of evolution, and for whatever reason I did get myself a little confused as to how to do that, but it's very simple. You just need to go to the centre and select your monster, and it will trigger that evolution once you've got the prerequisite experience.
Yeah, in terms of how you collect experience, so it's not as you would expect. It's not by battling, although there is obviously battling in the game. There's a series of mini games that you need to partake in, and success in these will give you that XP that you can then use to level up. And they're all, if not completely based, they certainly harken back to classic arcade games of the late 70s, early 80s.
They really do. I mean, these are absolutely brutal. Some of them more so than others, but honestly, I'm a big Souls fan. And picking up what I like to call the slidey rat hamster game, where you're playing as like a hamster on ice that reminded you of asteroids.
Yeah, it's very much like asteroids without being able to shoot. So it's just the dodging part of asteroids, you know?
Honestly, the challenge was real.
Yeah, it really is. And there are a fair few others. I think there are about 7 in total, give or take. 9. There may be 9. But yeah, they're, as I said, they're all based on various arcade games or like Game & Watch games of the past, with the score accumulating by surviving, basically. But you can also collect coins, which you can then spend in the shop, so they're different to the XP that you're gaining.
Absolutely, so you've got those 2 sides. You've got the high score chasing, arcadey side, and then the coin side. Sometimes you'll find the coins, going for it will throw you off your victory, won't it? It kind of sets you up to fail.
Yeah, they're set in certain places where you need to take that risk, and you may well gain it, but then obviously die, and that's the end of your XP run, so it's a bit of risk reward, which is always fun, you know?
There's an overworld called Evotopia, which is basically this world that has different locations that you can visit. You've obviously got your farm there. You do have the battling arena, where once you're an adult, you've evolved to an adult level, you can then go and fight. You can train there because it is very tough. Like we discovered this the hard way, that it's easy to lose. And I guess it's worth knowing what happens when you lose.
Yeah, so basically, if you do lose in one of these battles, and again, they're not battles in the traditional sense, they are more akin to minigames, but if you do lose, your creature will be frozen, and you can unfreeze them by visiting like the lab, wasn't it? Yeah. You can pick up eggs through exploration, but also through the shop that I kind of briefly alluded to a minute ago, to create new creatures. But you can, in the lab, once they're frozen, you can combine them with other creatures to create like a hybrid, I guess, or obviously unfreeze them as time goes on. This is a part of the game we didn't delve too far into, but there's quite a bit there, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. I think there's 49 different monsters and I believe about 150 different evolutions. There's quite a lot of content here. Now, other things that you can do is you can go out on expeditions. There are 3 stages of difficulty. You've got like your E rank. I think it's like A or C or something like that. And then you've got your S rank. Each of them puts you on almost like a top-down old school dungeon crawler style maze. You know, you can move a certain amount of spaces, and it's tied to the energy there in the bottom right hand of the screen. So you kind of have to decide, are you going to go and pick up those items? And these aren't like Pac-Man coins, are they? They're like different items you can collect.
Yeah, there'll be things like food that you can feed your creatures back at the farm and various bits and bobs. But then when you do reach the boss of that particular dungeon, again, it's not a battle per se, but it's more like an isometric shoot 'em up.
Yeah.
Which actually I found quite enjoyable. It was a quite pleasant surprise. And these bosses have a certain amount of health bars that you need to whittle down. You have special abilities or like power-ups that you can call in. I think it was 3 per boss fight.
Yep.
At any point that you wish by pressing B, and you just obviously need to evade his bullets and whittle down his health, as I mentioned, and that will see you win the expedition. Be successful in your expedition.
Yeah. Along with that, like we were saying before, you're constantly thinking about gaining experience. You'll gain it through the expeditions, so you can level up your monster using that experience. There's a fishing game in here that is very much like Stardew Valley. There's a little bit of a timing mini game followed by just trying to keep the fish within this area. Quite tricky, but not too bad. And then you can either use it as food or sell it in the shop. Within that shop, there are tools you can buy as well, so you do need to pick up like a little pooper scooper.
Yeah.
And then there's another that will retain your experience if you go over the maximum and evolve your creature. So that's well worth having, I'd say, as early as you can get it, really, because I lost a huge chunk of experience there. Now, other than that, you do have the Vivo Square, which is where you can meet other Evotopians and have dialogues with them. There's also mini games in there. Like one of them wants you to deliver them a ton of fertilizer, and you can imagine where you get that from. And then the Evo shop that we've already mentioned. And the other aspect is your own house. So you've got a little house and you can customize the layout of furniture, move things around, gain new furniture on those expeditions. It's a little bit more in depth than I thought it was going to be in terms of the overall package of this game, while still being simplistic. On the subject of controls, it's all very basic. What I will say is it would have been nice for them to have touchscreen. There isn't touchscreen controls when you're playing in handheld mode. So it is all done either using the analog stick or the D-pad. And I'm glad they've got the D-pad controls in there, especially for some of those more tricky arcade games.
Moving on to the visuals then, and as you've seen no doubt by now, it does take place on an isometric plane, and it reminded me of games like Equinox on the Super Nintendo, things like that. And I do enjoy that isometric view because it's not a viewpoint you see too often in games anymore, or even back in the day, to be fair.
Yeah, and it's actually nice to see them stick with the old 4:3 aspect ratio. Obviously the sides aren't potentially used as well as they could be, and I have said in my notes that I think they should add in things like your total coins, your total kind of experience into those spaces.
Yeah, just make more, create a better UI using the space available would be good. But I did like it's very vibrant. Obviously the colour palette is nice and bright, and the creatures themselves were fairly varied in their design.
Absolutely. I would say that the music is very good. I like the soundtrack. It's very catchy. The loop's a little bit short, but you can probably hear the music playing in the background of this video right now. And it doesn't do the thing where it becomes annoying. It's just catchy. Its base price is only about £8.99, so it's very reasonable. Straight away, as soon as my daughter caught sight of it, she was wanting it. I think we actually have another code that she can use, so happy days. But yeah, like I said at the start, if you want to win a copy as well, just let us know your favourite monster collecting game. Yeah,
for that price, I mean, obviously it's not a Pokemon game exactly. It's not what you may assume by looking at the screenshots. It does have more of that kind of repetitious loop of having to go through a lot of the same tropes to level up and then go out on these expeditions or battle in the arenas. But that's a good price for what you're doing, for that sort of loop. I think that's quite a fair price, actually.
Absolutely. So that's it for this one. That's EvoMon in a bit of a nutshell, or an eggshell.
Eggshell is very apt.
Let us know in the comments what you think of it. Thanks so much to the sponsor of this episode. All the links will be down below and in the description as well. And it's nice to be back from the holiday.
Yeah, nice to have you back.
Thanks, mate. Thank you to our Patreons, our members, all of you that enjoy the content. For all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers, guys. See ya!